Hey, this is Jeanette Knighton, and I am on site working with one of my clients to prep for negotiations. And I used the 5 key questions from my negotiation prep on the fly to help us organize our thoughts. So the first question that we had to discuss was, what is the ultimate purpose or outcome that my client company was looking for from this negotiation? And that was such a critical conversation, because what it did is it pointed out that my client company and my counterpart are not aligned. And that's so important. We can't jump into starting to negotiate the terms and conditions of a contract if we're not fundamentally aligned on things like the scope of work, the cost, and then the contract structure model. And they're not throwing shade at anybody. A lot of things have changed over the course of these last couple of months between my client company and my counterpart company. But what this prep did is it really proved that we're not aligned. And so number 1, we've got to get aligned. Number 2, we talked about what are the non-negotiables. And so in talking about the non-negotiables, what really came up was, what's non-negotiable for the people in the room for their level of delegated authority versus what's non-negotiable from the company at large. And so it helped us understand that while those of us in the room may not have the delegated authority to accept certain things, the organization may, and the senior leadership may have the delegated authority, and they may very well want to be. So it then emphasized our need to align with those internal stakeholders. Then we started to get into the actual trade-offs and the conversations about what my client company was willing to accept and willing to offer. And so with the clarity of needing to align on the work first and foremost, and what the non-negotiables were for those of us in the room, it made it so much easier for them to talk about what the trade-offs would potentially look like. And then 4th, we discussed who the decision makers were, realizing that we had from our counterpart a senior vice president that was coming in. And while we had invited the equivalent at my client company, it wasn't clear whether that person was going to be in the room or was going to be calling in through a Teams link that we had provided. So it allowed us to get that additional level of clarity, and also for someone to report back to the leader at my client company about the nature of our conversations and our prep for the negotiations. If you are still watching this video, I really encourage you to take a look at my blog article and also at my YouTube video about the 5 critical questions that you need to answer when you've only got a few minutes to prep for a negotiation. We already knew one of the questions, which is what's motivating my client company for getting into an agreement. But the other 4 questions were absolutely critical and helped establish a framework for prepping with and for the negotiations. If I can help you in any way, shape, or form, I'd be delighted to.